chair.
Well, today I'm really excited. I have the most amazing person here to meet you and to talk with you and share his experience. It's Mark Thiede, Thiede. So Mark is, he has his PhD, so maybe I should call him Dr. Mark, Dr. Thiede. Well, whatever.
No, let's not be too formal.
Let's not be too formal, but Mark is an amazing man. So he is previously a biochemist, a molecular biologist, and then did a lot of work in chemistry. So a lot of his time he spent in laboratories, worked all over the country, kind of similar experience as I have had. Not just one location is good. He was in Baltimore, he was in St. Louis, and then here he is in Connecticut. So has been here, has enjoyed the company of a lot of different people doing his work as a scientist. He has taken his science out of the lab into the kitchen. Now, Mark probably is going to say it's a laboratory there too, because if you work in a kitchen, you know it's all about the chemistry of venting your pot pie if you make a pot pie so that the molecules have a chance. But Mark, maybe you need to talk. That's your wheelhouse, not mine. So Mark is an owner of a restaurant that's in East Haddam that's called Two Wrasslin Cats. And my daughter, I think, is a little bit, my granddaughter actually,
yes, I love
is
to
a
see
little
Claire.
bit famous. And see, Mark already even knows her name. I don't need to remind him. Claire calls it the Kitty Cat Cafe, also known as, so not just Two Wrasslin Cats, but the Kitty Cat Cafe. So Mark, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. We've been trying to get you on for about half a year, it seems like.
Yeah, well, great. Thank you, Kate, very much for the opportunity.
Very excited. And if you haven't been to his place, it's not just about serving a nice breakfast or lunch. It's about the environment. It feels warm. It feels welcoming. There's thousands of little statues of cats around and a fountain with cats all around the perimeter of it. It's a beautiful rustic kind of location, and it's painted kind of crazy colors. Is that okay to say?
Absolutely. And this spring I have plans to put additional colors onto the house.
I remember some purples and some yellows kind of combined.
Cobalt blue.
Lime
green, yes.
Lime green. And I love you have signs up that talk about equity and justice. And talk to me a little bit about what your mission was, Mark, in transitioning. You said you only wanted to do bioscience kind of work for 15 years, and you did that. But then what was your real passion? Why did you move into this?
Well, I had always been sort of driven to doing something that was creative. I didn't like to reproduce other people's stuff per se in the scientific world, and I decided that what I'd like to do is something that I could earn a little income.
Sure.
And I was traveling to Seattle in the late 1990s with my job, and I got bit by the coffee culture. I like the coffee culture, and I thought, well, maybe I'll get a franchise at some point. And I looked into franchise, and they're just such cookie cutters that I said I have to do something else, do something myself. So when in the first decade of this century, the pharmaceutical industry was undergoing acquisition after acquisition layoff after acquisition layoff, and I realized it was just a matter of time before I was going to be presented with the opportunity to move on.
Just like you were, and just like I was, or my husband was, and we had real similar experience. If you talk about the biotech industry, it kind of comes with relocations.
Always.
And if you look at it as an opportunity, we had an enormous opportunity to reinvent ourselves and recreate.
Always, yeah. And then, you know, and I just couldn't see myself staying in that environment. So I decided that I would open a coffee shop.
Cool.
Which, you know, created a great stir amongst my friends and family.
I'm sure.
You know, about what are you going to do that for and all. And I just said, well, what I wanted to do, I guess my mission was to create something that I could bridge early retirement with a real retirement. I don't know when that will ever come. But, and create something that is unique and personal. And so Two Wrasslin Cats started in 2013. I opened in May of 2013. So we're going to be 10 years old at the end of May. It's amazing. We never had a grand opening because when I first opened, I really had no idea what I was doing business-wise. I was doing it all by the seat of my pants. I was doing it through extra energy and through devotion of time and all, and a lot of good people. My family, my wife-to-be, we all sort of, you know, I think gave me enough encouragement and all. And now, 10 years out, I've got a little, maybe a turnkey business.
Nice.
So that's good. You know, so I know what I can do. I know what I need to do and all. But I also don't, I never read a business book.
No, would you give this advice to somebody else? I mean, I just
would.
have to.
Well, I would. I think you have to say, well, you have to take the lumps too.
Yep.
You have to take the lumps.
Yep.
You know,
it's the long haul, right?
Right. It's the long haul. It's about, you know, I never thought of quitting. You know, when somebody told me that after a year, you did a really good job. Wow, you made it to a year, and I never, ever, ever thought that I wasn't going to be there 10 years later.
Well,
I didn't know I was going to be there 10 years.
That is so inspirational,
you know?
Because so many people have a dream, and so many people hate, you know, being subjected to a boss's bad mood or poor judgment or lack of whatever, you know.
Yes. So you change. So let's go back to the science. I knew that one thing we had to do is make something that was highly reproducible.
Right.
Because in order to get people back, I mean, that's what McDonald's does. You know, they make that sandwich, the hamburger, the same way all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and so to be able to do that, I don't make McDonald's sandwiches. We make better. We make a really great stuff.
Your stuff is good.
But then also to be able to change, and I always use this example as not to necessarily listen to what the customers are saying, because they may want something at that moment, but they may never come back. But to be able to see what's working and what isn't working. So I had a gal who was making some cheesecakes once, and some people came in and they said, "Oh, you have lemon cheesecake?" And she went, "Oh no, but I can do that." So she made a lemon cheesecake, and they never came back.
Oh.
You know, and we sort of sold that lemon cheesecake. But I realized, you know, it's being observant. I think in my science career, it was always about being observant and letting the data tell you what you do next.
It's all about
observation. Don't
observation.
stay stuck on what you're going to do. And I realized, I think within science, I always wanted to do something, an advanced degree and all. But once I got there, I realized that I would actually like to maybe do something different in the long run, you know, but take advantage of this to accumulate some, you know, some wealth and all. I mean, not that I'm a wealthy guy, but enough stuff to that I could buy the house in East Haddam, I could do the renovations, and I could be here 10 years later.
Nice. Well, you know, and you're living your dream, basically,
It's really good. Yeah, yeah.
And you're living within your means, and you're making a living, not a killing, perhaps.
Right, right. And I have other retirement funds and all that, so I you know, support myself through that, and I'm doing just fine.
Very good, nice, very nice. So your place is open from?
It's open from 9 to 3. Every day but Tuesday. Tuesday I'm closed.
Okay.
So that took 8.5 years to do, but I finally closed a day.
Well, you need a day off, for heaven's sakes, right?
Yeah.
You need to have some time to yourself and your family and to do other things.
But I was there, you know, I knew that. It was my personal sacrifice. I had to be there 7 days a week to get this thing up and running.
Sure, sure, sure. How long do you think that took you? Was it like 3 to 5 years or 7 years? When did you start to maybe take a little bit of time for yourself?
So it was really after about 7 years, I think. And then when my son was working with me, he was very helpful in giving me the feeling that I could take a little time off. But it was not until really 8.5 years when I did it.
It's hard, yeah.
It's hard.
I love, though, like, your Two Wrasslin Cats. And tell me about your cats. You have them on your T-shirt here.
Yes.
And one's Bruno and one's Laurie.
This is Bruno and Laurie, yeah. So they were given to me as gifts from my daughter and her middle school classmate. They're half-brothers. They were 3 months difference in age. And they had a propensity to mix it up. Actually, Bruno loved it when Larry came, because Bruno just sort of dominated because he was so much bigger. And I saw them on the floor. I was making some homemade beer. I was on the phone with my nephew, and I said, "Well, how about Two Wrasslin Cats Brewery?" And he said, "That's great. I made this batch of beer. It was not very good, but then the rest is history."
The concept was born.
Two Wrasslin Cats.
So you went from Two Wrasslin Cats as a brewery to Two Wrasslin Cats
as a coffee shop.
As a coffee shop.
Yes, and that's also, you know, I look back and say I didn't have a plan. When I tell people after they've asked about how long I've been collecting the stuff in the shop, I say, you know, I didn't have anything when I opened. When I opened the shop, I had my 2 cats. I don't have any kitsch at home.
Yeah, like all the figurines.
All that stuff. I don't have it. None of that's mine. It's all brought in by the community.
Oh, seriously? How many cats do you have?
I have no idea. I once had a couple of young kids that did a count. This was probably 7 years ago. They said there were 300. So I don't know how many are there.
I'm sure
right
there
now.
are. I can bring some over next time when I
Yeah,
come.
bring on. Yeah, we'll find some space for them and all. So that just grew. In the community. There's really a wonderful cat-loving community out there.
It really is, and it's a strong cat-loving community.
Yeah.
Somebody was saying the other day that 70% of every household has a pet. And I heard recently, too, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but that pets are more favored than cats. No, cats are more favored than dogs. So
yeah. I can completely understand that. Although we have at home, we have 2 cats and a dog, and they actually all get along pretty well.
Do they?
Yeah.
But you said you have 7 cats in total. Some are at the
I have
restaurant, the
5
coffee
at the
shop.
restaurant. So one thing that we did this year was opened up it was actually last year. I had the front room of the house closed up per the health department requirement. And on April 2nd, I brought in 5 sibling cats from a local house. They had a litter of 6. They gave me 5. They were 12 weeks, and they've been there at the New Wrasslin Cat Lounge. So I had, as part of Two Wrasslin Cats, is a New Wrasslin Cat Lounge LLC, and it was a separate business. The health department wanted me to do that. And they're there for socialization therapy.
So is that adjacent? Is that a room that's
It's a
next
room
to
right in
where
the front.
dining room is? Or?
So the original house, it was built in 1784.
It is a nice older piece
is a
of
box, and the front part that is actually closed off. There are a couple of doorways with glass doors, and we have a separate entrance outside with a ADA compliant ramp and all.
Nice.
And the front is painted purple and yellow. And I have these 5 beautiful cats inside. And if anybody wants to look at the Two Wrasslin Cats Instagram page, I publish shots of them all the time.
Okay, very nice. Well, I know my granddaughter has gone over and played with
absolutely.
them.
Claire has been there, yes.
Claire. So Claire has been there and has gotten an opportunity to play with them. And I don't think they're going to buy any pets because they have allergies in the house. So it's kind of a nice way. Give her a little
interaction.
And a histamine, and then she can walk in. And
yes, and they can even watch, from the glass from the other side of the restaurant. There are two doorways that are fully glass, and you can watch the cats from there.
So we can look it up on Instagram. What's the Instagram? Is
Two Wrasslin Cats.
Just that
it's as simple as that.
Yeah. And do you have cameras on them?
I have a pet cube, 2 pet cubes there that I don't follow them very closely, but they have also knocked them off the walls.
Oh.
So they're actually very, it's one of those things where they're up high enough, I thought, but they've actually been able to knock them both off because they're like up on a magnetic stand.
Boy. So now, at your place, Mark, you have a lot of signs and things talking about equity and justice. Tell me about your philosophy, I guess, and why that's important, and why should we get those messages out there? Like you have rainbow flags, and tell me about that. Yeah.
So again, we'll go back to the point that I never read a business book. Okay. So I actually wear my heart on my sleeve or on the front lawn of the New Wrasslin Cats.
Well, look at your arm. You wear your cat on your bicep, too.
Look, I have my 2 Wrasslin Cats here, Bruno and Laurie. I was able to get this done by Jeremy.
Too?
Yeah, and it's a mug.
Yeah, I thought there was like a little, okay.
And it actually has the rainbow they're double helices to represent my prior work.
Oh.
So it's my science and the coffee and my 2 co-founders.
That's a beautiful
Bruno
cat too, by the way.
That was done by Jeremy at Goodspeed Tattoo. He did it 4.5 hours later. It was amazing.
Wow. Is that Bruno?
That's Bruno and Larry.
Okay. So it's a combination
of the 2 cats.
I
see.
Yeah. I thought maybe you'd have something on the other side.
No, I'm thinking about doing something over there with my new cats.
So you'll have to come back. So tell me, we're back on equity and your mission.
So I've always been a fully, welcoming environment.
Of course.
And in 2016, things started to sort of happen. So we can go before that. I had kids from the school come in.
From East Haddam?
Yeah, the Equality Alliance.
Okay.
Came in and did stuff there. I was very supportive of the LGBT community and all. I had an NA meeting and an AA meeting that were being held at the shop.
Nice.
I opened it up to whoever wanted to use the space. I have the East Haddam Art League. They come in and use the space. They have actually a wall that they display their works on and rotate that out, and they meet there periodically. And in 2016, with the whole election issue and all, things really started to come into focus for me. And I had a group that actually Teresa Gover from town. She had, and her sister and another individual painted a sign that said, you know, "Dear Muslims." I don't know if you say it's. I'm just paraphrasing it from. It was from quote from Sean. Yep. So there, I don't know. Sean. He's a blogger, and it was, you know, about, dear, you know, LGBT, we love you, we will endure. And it was a very large sign that was placed out in front of my shop.
Nice.
But there were two of them that were made, and one was placed down in Moodus, and the one in Moodus was defaced on the morning after the election. And so that one was removed, and the one on my shop. And so this was sort of the start of let's do something. And so I had a couple that asked whether or not I would be open to a weekly vigil.
Nice.
You know, they had been doing some vigil in Guilford since the Vietnam War and all, and they said if they could do that on a Saturday between 10 and 11. So they started that, and it grew, and it grew, and when it came to the Women's March in January of 2017, we had 500 people. They actually had put out in
500 people on the premises of where Two Wrasslin Cats is?
Yes.
Wow.
They had three sites that the Women's March was advertising for. One was Hartford March, Stamford March, and one was the vigil at the Two Wrasslin Cats. And we had speakers and music and 500 people and a lot of those pink hats. And it was wonderful. And it was at the time that my mom was in the hospital, in her room at the assisted living place, and she was dying, and so she died like 5 days later.
I'm sorry.
But I realized that this was something I needed to do, and I sort of do it in her memory to follow up with the way she would want me to follow up. And also now I have my pride flags. I have a bands off our bodies flag out front.
Nice.
I have, you know, kindness, everything. And in the front of the shop, when you go to the front door of the shop, there's a banner. I made two banners, one green, one blue, but this one is, I think, the green one. It doesn't matter. It says, "Welcome. We are an anti-racism business." And I had a fellow from, I think he's in Avon, and he saw that and asked if he could get a copy of that. And I said, well, I actually have one in my bathroom. And so I took it down, and he posted it in his window up there in his business. So I thought that was very bold. For me, it's the way I operate.
Well, and so many people, I'm on the state school board in East Lyme, and I'm on the board of directors for Learn as well, but also I ran for state rep for the 37th district a few years ago, and I asked people if they would maybe put my sign in their, you know, in their business window, and they're like, can't do that, can't be political, and you know, so it's really interesting that you would be so brave and so bold, but it's who you are, obviously, and you're very comfortable in your own skin, so that's what you wanted to do, and I really applaud you for taking that as a brave and bold move on your part. When
I first started, there was a couple that was pushing for bringing down this. It was a community garden and a commercial kitchen facility on the Harris property. And I sort of gave them the opportunity. They want to put their letter out there, and they want to do this.
Where is the Harris property?
It's up on Mount Parnassus. It's a big property where they do have community gardens.
Okay. And then that's in East Haddam?
That's in East Haddam.
Okay.
But then I found out that they were really pretty sinister.
Ooh.
And they were trying to undo something that actually what happened was with their actions, they ended up getting a vote so that the East Haddam had to send back whatever money they had gotten, and they refused the grant. And I realized that, that's how I'm open. Okay, you can come here, you can do this. Then I realized that, maybe I have to be a little bit more selective on how I do. That's more in line with how I feel. So that type of thing, won't happen again. But anybody who wants to do something positive for the community, let's do it.
Well, and when I've gone there, like when I babysit, or I guess you don't call it babysitting when you're taking care of your own granddaughter, but when I've had the opportunity to do childcare for my granddaughter, she'd want to go to the Kitty Cat Cafe, so there'd be a big adventure for us. For the two of us, would go over and up and down the ramp several times.
Oh, sure, yeah.
All kinds of exploring to see which cats we can find, and of course she wants to check in and see if they're all there, kind of thing. But the people are just so friendly, and I was able to make friends with a woman who was a librarian, and our kids played together, kind of thing. So it's a very welcoming community.
I have been amazed at the kindness and the patience, because today I have a front counter that I really, after COVID, just try to keep it at 4 people at a time. So people are lined up outside, and it gets cold at times at this time of the year, but people are still very patient, they're and when I get to the counter, they say it's no problem, you're just going to do it the way you want it to be done, and it works.
It works.
I think if you present yourself as an open, welcoming person and facility, people will essentially comply, and this is how we are too.
They just kind of settle into it.
They settle
into how you're treated. And
right. It's all about how you're treated. So, and like I said, go back to, I never read a business magazine, so I didn't realize that you really don't do this sort of thing if you want to have a successful business, like you say. But I'm looking forward to the next banner I put up outside. I actually have right now a board there that I've rotated banners. One was a democracy banner when the votes came around. I still have that, and I'll put up for the next election. But right now I have this big truth with everything that's going on with Fox News and that side of the world. Truth with some arrows, and then I found a vote yes lawn sign that I put below it. So, that's sort of what I'm displaying right now, besides, in addition to my flags.
Oh, I like it. Well, my brother spent a lot of time up in Ithaca, so it kind of reminds me of something that you'd see up in Ithaca, New York, where there's a lot of movement and energy, and and that makes you feel better when you feel like you're being subjected to a world that's outside of your beliefs and your wishes and your desires, to have some oppression placed on you. So I feel like you're creating an opportunity to have that.
Yeah. I'm very happy with how this thing has turned out 10 years later.
Good. So what's your favorite thing on the menu?
So my favorite thing, I love a black coffee, my black drip coffee, and our caprese is just a wonderful sandwich. Although I do make our chicken salads as well. Our calico chicken or furry curd chicken salads are made. I make them. I've been doing that for the last 10 years. But the caprese is very special. It's a fresh mozzarella, tomato. We got a great ciabatta roll from Alberto's Bakery, and it has pesto and balsamic glaze and gets pressed, and it's just wonderful.
You're making me hungry. So.
Yeah.
Well, that all sounds really good. So what advice would you give to a young person, perhaps, who's interested in becoming an entrepreneur? What would you say to them? How would you get them to, kind of get the plan in place? What would you say? What would you do?
I would say be patient.
Okay.
It's not going to happen overnight. I remember sending out something on Facebook the Monday after. I opened on a Friday. The Monday after, almost declaring that I was a successful business, and I look back on that as such I can't find that, because I really would love to see what I wrote there. And then what I would say is be patient, stay with your passion, but be flexible. Things may change, and just go with what seems to be working, and toss out what isn't working. And then the other thing, and I've said it all along since I've been open, if I had a book that I would write about Two Wrasslin Cats new business, I would say It would be the building of a nice small business. Keep your hands out of my pocket. Because one of the things that I found as I move along is that once you're setting up a business, you start to get committed to a lot of other people that want to sell you things. You have to really get a control of that because, and I use this one example, the Coke guy who set up my Coke, beverage merchandiser with all free stuff. Then I wanted to order some, and I ordered some bottles. And next thing you know, the guy keeps coming in and writing down how much I need. And next thing you know, I have 7 cases of Coke products in the corner, and like, no, I don't want this anymore, you know. And I realized that I didn't know that this is how they operate. So you have to actually, I think, get a good grip on expenditures that other people want to sell you stuff.
Okay.
But maybe you don't need.
Okay.
And it'll help your bottom line a lot.
Okay. Helps your bottom line. Okay.
Yeah.
And what about building the team? Is that an important part of it as well? You said you really kind of, your family was really important.
Yeah, I started with a large group of people, and then we chiseled it down. For instance, I had a baker and an assistant baker. We started with some bakery stuff, and then I realized that it's not as big a part of the business as it should be, that I really shouldn't be paying for a baker and all this. So
focus on what's in between the bread and not the bread itself.
This was for pastry stuff. This was for pastry stuff.
Got it.
And so the bottom line was that the team was built, and then I had to sort of just sort of dispel leave them to their doing their own thing. Eventually, what I am, I'm a guy who I have a gal who works, Alex, with me. I have 2 kids, high school kids, and we just work. We work as a team, and then I replace the kids as they leave for college.
Nice.
And all.
Well, I bet they're just so thrilled to be able to have that
It's
opportunity
fun, you know?
to work with you.
They have to deal with me too.
Yeah. Well, you have a good sense of humor and bright eyes.
I try.
So you're absolutely.
I'm also a stickler for how, making sure how you're treating the customers properly.
That's important.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Yes. So located in East Haddam, and it's an intersection. It's like a trisection. What is 82 or?
It's actually at the intersection of 82 and the end of 151.
Okay.
So 151 actually starts at the intersection there, and it goes up to East Hampton.
Okay. It's a great spot, friendly staff, tons of cats, a nice fountain, nice chairs on the outside.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And one thing we never touched on, it's an archaeological site as well.
That's right. You said the building was 17.
The building was 1784,
84.
But we have now, in the last 3 years, we were declared an archaeological site,
Really?
a Paleo-Indian archaeological site.
Really?
Yes, and it's 12,000 years ago. So I had a customer find an artifact, and then the state has been in 9 days, and they're coming back in May or so. We just had a presentation at the East Haddam
Library?
Historical Society.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is there going to be a birthday party? I want to come for your birthday party. 10 years
10
in
years,
May.
yeah. We didn't have an grand opening, but we're going to do something. We'll do something, yes. So you will be invited.
Absolutely. I want to come, and I'll bring Claire and, of course, my daughter and son-in-law.
Yes, it's hard to believe, but yes. So that'll be probably the weekend, either before or after, because I think it's the middle of the week this year.
May what? What are we talking
31st.
about? May 31st, so Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Mark, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This was just amazing getting to chat with you.
It's very nice to be here today, Kate.
Yeah,
thank
hearing
you.
a story worth telling. So thank you, and please come back after we hear about the archaeological
Yes, you can look that up. Yukon Magazine had an article on us in the fall issue.
Nice. Okay, good to see you, Mark.
Likewise, Kate. Thank you.